Very latest developments for you. Turning now to Washington, the Obama administration has demonstrated a willingness to weaken U.S. immigration law and its enforcement in this country. Now the administration is being asked to suspend all immigration raids while census workers count population next year. As Casey Wine reports, that request could politicize the 2010 census.
Preparations for the 2010 census are underway, with workers walking neighborhoods trying to identify every U.S. dwelling. The constitutional mandate to count each person legally or illegally living in the United States. During the Los Angeles rally, city leaders assured residents their information would be safe from immigration authorities and police. The Census Bureau promises confidentiality.
Not even the President of the U.S. can obtain any information that's collected for the U.S. Census Bureau.
Still, Missouri Democrat William Lacey Clay, who heads the House subcommittee overseeing the census, said last week he favors halting immigration raids during next year's count to, quote, tamp down any fears the immigrant population might have on certain raids, whether they're here legally or not. California's Darrell Issa, the subcommittee's ranking Republican, counters, quote, we're not talking about one day of not doing raids. We're talking about a period of time. Is that a week, a month, or a whole year? We cannot suspend law enforcement. The Census Bureau itself has asked for exactly that in the past. Former President Clinton halted raids in 2000. Former President Bush was asked 2 years ago to do the same for the 2010 census. He refused. Now the Census Bureau has released this video featuring groups advocating amnesty for illegal aliens to encourage participation.
It's so important that we get our fair share of the money for programs coming from the federal government.
The Census Bureau estimated that 3 million people were not counted in 2000. At stake, billions of dollars in federal funds and distribution of congressional seats. Perhaps it's no surprise then that both Republicans and Democrats appear to be politicizing a process that's seemingly as straightforward as counting people. Casey Wine, CNN, Los Angeles.
Well, counting illegal aliens in the 2010 census would have an impact on how the 435 seats in the House of Representatives are allocated among the states. A study by the University of Connecticut finds that states with higher illegal alien populations, such as Arizona, Florida, and Texas, would gain a total of 7 seats. Illinois, Michigan, Missouri, New York, and Ohio will lose 7 seats. And California, which picked up 6 congressional seats when illegal aliens were included in the 2000 census count, according to the University of Connecticut study, may stand to actually gain even more. We'd like to know what you think about all of this. Our poll question is very simple. Do you believe it's more important for the federal government to count illegal aliens or enforce immigration laws? We'd like to hear from you. Cast your vote at LouDobbs.com. We'll have the results here later in the broadcast. Well, now I'd like to shed some light on an issue that we discussed here last night. Left-wing activist group Acorn is calling for the removal of Maricopa County, Arizona Sheriff Joe Arpaio for enforcing immigration laws. During an interview last night with both Bertha Lewis, the head of Acorn, and Reverend Al Sharpton, the head of the National Action Network, I asked Bertha Lewis about investigations into Acorn for voter fraud and what impact that might have on her credibility. Lewis adamantly denied being investigated for voter fraud. This is what she had to say. What do you suppose would be said about Acorn? You're being investigated in 13 states, for crying out loud.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
Well,
That's not true. Check the facts. It's not true. You can get on the phone right now, call the Department of Justice.
I didn't say anything about the Justice Department.
Acorn is not being investigated anywhere in any state. You don't have your facts correct.
Anywhere in any state. Well, Bertha, here we go. I promised you that we would check those facts, and when you denied being investigated, we called all of those states and confirmed that investigations into Acorn indeed are underway. We begin with Ohio, where the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office in Ohio tells us it has been investigating Acorn for, as it put it, some time. The investigator at the State Board of Elections for North Carolina says they hope to reach a decision on their investigation by the 30th of June. And Nevada also investigating your organization. Acorn also being investigated, Bertha, in New Mexico, I'm sorry to tell you. And oh yes, Connecticut too. They're investigating Acorn. So's the state of Wisconsin. The Secretary of State's office in Indiana tells us that the Lake County prosecutor, as well as, here goes the federal investigation, Bertha. I'm sorry to tell you again, but these are just the facts. The U.S. Attorney in Indiana are actively engaged in the investigation of Acorn. That, as you know, Bertha, makes it a federal investigation, which you said wasn't underway. Turning to Florida, the Department of Law Enforcement in Florida says it is investigating several cases associated with Acorn at the state level. And in Michigan, a worker from Acorn is now serving a 6-month jail sentence. And Bertha, those are the facts. Acorn is under investigation.